Astrology isn't just about signs and symbols. It's a tool for navigating real life. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Alisa. I'm your host, Alisa Dixon, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. When I first started studying astrology, whenever I'd meet someone new, I'd play it cool and try to act normal, but inside, I'd privately be trying to figure out their sign. It became a fun little game I'd play. I'd look at their facial expressions, the way they spoke. Were they loud or were they shy? Were they open and friendly or were they all business? Were they chatty or were they the silent type? Were they active and energetic or were they more subdued? How were they dressed? In bright, bold colors or in earth tones? What was their hairstyle like? A military-style buzz cut or was it stylish and chic? I'd try to get a feel for their overall vibe. Were they warm and inviting or cool and aloof? I'd taken all my observations. What was my first impression? Then came the fun part, figuring out which sign of the zodiac I was picking up on. I could usually land on one, or at least narrow it down to 2 or 3. And then I'd look for a casual way to slip in a question about their birthday to check and see if I was right. Sometimes I was spot on, and sometimes I was way off base. I was wrong more often than not, actually. And I'd think, what is wrong with me? I thought I knew this stuff. Well, here's something interesting. I did know this stuff, but I was often wrong because I was going off of their birthday, and that wasn't the right thing to look at. I was trying to guess their sun sign, the sign that's based on your birthday. But, like we talked about in the last episode, that's only one part of your energy. In astrology, there are 3 main energies that are most significant to a person. These are often known as the big 3. There's the sun sign, based on your birthday. There's the moon sign, which we explored in last week's episode. Definitely check that out if you haven't listened yet. And the third piece of the big 3 energies, that's your rising sign. Okay, I know you're all wondering, what is the rising sign and how do I figure out what mine is? Your rising sign is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the exact moment you were born. A lot of people think I'm talking about the sunrise, and I get why. It's the same place in the east where the sun rises. But even when the sun isn't rising, whether it's afternoon, nighttime, or any time in between, one of the 12 zodiac signs is always rising up over that same eastern horizon. And it changes roughly every 2 hours, which makes sense, right? There's 24 hours in a day and 12 zodiac signs. So each sign is on the horizon for about 2 hours a day. So, bringing this back to you, whatever sign was there on the eastern horizon at the moment you were born, that's your rising sign. And it sets the tone for how you show up in life. It's the first impression you give off. It's how others see you before they really know you. It's often linked to your physical appearance and the energy people feel when they first meet you. It's your character, your attitude. A big part of your identity lives in that rising sign. So when I'm playing that game where I guess your sign, I'm probably guessing your rising sign because that's what's most visible. It's what we lead with. So if you're curious what your rising sign is, here's how to find it. You need your birthday, of course, the month, the day, and the year, but also the exact time and place you were born. Your rising sign depends on where you were on the planet and what time it was, so we can figure out what zodiac sign was rising at that moment. And when you have those details, you not only have your rising sign, but also the exact degree of that sign, and that exact point is called your ascendant. People often talk about rising sign and ascendant like they're the same thing, and they are super close, but the ascendant is just the more precise point within your rising sign that actually sets up your entire chart. And there's a lot more we can talk about there, but for today, let's just stick with the rising sign. And I'm going to tell you all about mine. I am a Capricorn rising, but I was this close to being a Sagittarius rising. If I had been born just 3 minutes earlier, then I would have had a different rising sign. Sagittarius would have been on the horizon. But the sky shifted just in time for me to end up with a Capricorn rising. Now, this is a funny story. One night when I was hanging out with some of my astrology loving friends, I call them my astro besties. I love them so much. We just totally get each other on such a different level because we have spent so much time looking at each other's charts, analyzing them to death, but in a great way. And we've helped each other gain such greater insight and deeper understanding of who we truly are and what we're here to do, all through knowing our charts. It's just amazing. We have become so close. These are forever friends, truly, on a soul level. But anyway, back to this one night, we were looking at my chart and we noticed the timing. At 12:56 a.m., the rising sign was Sagittarius. It changed to Capricorn at 12:57 a.m. And then I was born 2 minutes later at 12:59 a.m. So this sparked a whole debate about what rising sign was I really. And even now, telling this story, I'm looking at my chart and I'm questioning it all over again. What's really the truth? So here's how we landed that night. Remember, your rising sign isn't how you see yourself, it's how the world sees you, how you come across to others. So, in a way, this wasn't even my call. This was up to my friends to decide what my rising sign was based on how they saw me. I could see both energies in myself. Sagittarius with its open, friendly, freedom loving spirit, and Capricorn with its no nonsense, boss girl vibe. And in the end, Capricorn won for a few reasons. First and foremost, my mom was very confident in my exact birth time. I called her that night and I asked, Mom, how sure are you? A lot goes on in the delivery room. Could it have been any earlier? We are talking minutes. And she was like, no way. It was definitely 1 minute to 1 a.m. She was absolutely sure. And my friends, they were just as sure that I come off like a Capricorn. And honestly, I see it too. I definitely have that no nonsense girl boss energy. When I walk into a room, it's all business. No fluff, no small talk, just here I am. What are we doing? Let's get on with it. Even the way I dress, says Capricorn. I gravitate towards tailored black pants over anything colorful or loud. I'm not into flashy or overly trendy looks. I like to look nice, but in a more timeless and classic way. But one more thing really sealed it for me: to accept Capricorn as my rising sign. My moon is also in Capricorn. So when I learned that the moon sign represents your inner world, your emotions, your instincts, and who you really are, and then that the rising sign is what you show the world, it totally clicked. Because growing up, my family would always say, oh yeah, with Alisa, what you see is what you get. I was literally showing people the same energy, Capricorn, that I was also feeling inside. Same rising, same moon, no disconnect, no mask, just Capricorn through and through. And that's not always the case. Some people have 3 totally different signs in their big 3. Others, like me, have a double dose of one. And some have all 3 the same. It's one of the things I love most about astrology, how unique and layered each chart really is. And that's the real beauty of astrology, the awareness of your own energy, especially your rising sign, because it's the energy you give off before you even say a word. For me, the realization that I come across as all business all the time, no fluff, no small talk, just ready to go. Realizing this has helped me in so many ways. It gives me a chance to soften that vibe when I need to. Just like I shared last week, how learning about my kids' moon signs helped me understand them more deeply. This is the same idea. Understanding my own rising sign helps me see what I'm projecting out into the world. And when I can see that clearly, I can adjust it if I need to. It helps me show up more intentionally, and ultimately be a better version of myself to others. Now, if you're listening right now and thinking, but I have no idea what time I was born, don't worry. There are ways to work backward and figure it out. Even if your birth certificate doesn't have a birth time, and even if your parents don't remember, I can still help you piece it together. It takes a little detective work, but that's part of the fun. So if you're curious about your rising sign, but don't have your exact time, or even if you do have the exact time, but you just want to know more about you and your unique energy, book a reading with me. We'll figure it all out together. Thank you so much for being here. You all have made my podcast launch feel so special. Just this week, over 500 of you have tuned in. How amazing is that? I am truly so grateful because I want to grow this Astrology with Alisa community. I want as many people as possible to understand their energy the way I've come to understand mine. Remember earlier when I talked about my Astro besties and how close we've become? That's what I want for all of you, to grow together, to learn together, to connect through astrology in a real and personal way. Several of you have already reached out with personal messages, left reviews, and rated the show, and it means so much. It's been amazing to connect with people I've never met, strangers who are quickly becoming my Astro family. If you're loving the podcast so far, please be sure to follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode with your friends. It helps more than you know, and it helps this community grow. And before we go, I'd love to hear from you. There's a link in the show notes where you can send me a text message. You'll also find links to my Instagram and YouTube channel. Reach out anytime. Ask me anything about astrology. Or hey, let me know what you think about my rising sign. Am I giving off Capricorn vibes? Or do you see a little Sagittarius in me? What energy do you pick up on? Don't be shy. Reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening and take care. I'll see you next time.